This is Star Trek Subspace transmissions from We Were Gamers, a subpod of the popular earth-shatteringly nope, can't get that far.
I mean, it is, clearly a important thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we know.
Hi. Hey JJ.
Hey, Andrew, how's it going, man?
Um I enjoyed watching these because some days are tougher than others, and some days when you get to the end of them, if you watch something as ridiculous as what we've seen here, you can't help but smile a little bit.
These last 3 episodes, we're talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 2 here. We watched the final 3 episodes, 12,
12.
13, and 14.
Mm-hmm.
These were some episodes.
Does this... When I say I love Star Trek, I often take that to include a lot of things that people don't like. Like, I like Enterprise quite a bit. I don't know if these episodes fall in the vein, but they might for me. I'm still processing them.
So much happens. I think they fit an entire season's worth of story into the last 2 episodes.
They sure did.
You might say that it seems like they thought they were getting canceled and they had to wrap it up.
One thought I had here is we've talked, and it feels really good to be vindicated all the way since the beginning. I remember having the discussion after we saw the beginnings of the Klingon War in season 1, and then the Discovery dips into a weird 4-episode arc of like Monster of the Week with the Harry Mudd and a couple other episodes there. And you and I were like, this is weird. I wonder if this is going to stay. And then towards the end of that season, the same thing happens where they go to the Terran alternate universe. We've been talking since then about the confusion of what Discovery wants to be. Is it a narrative show? Is it not a narrative show? How many structures are going to stay narrative structures? And it feels good to be vindicated even at the end of season 2 here, where we were like, oh, maybe they've kind of figured out this kind of pace. Maybe they've got what they're gonna. Nope. Wow. I guess up the front, did you like it or not like it?
The whole thing, or
Take it.
just these ones?
We'll do the whole thing at the end. These 3.
Yeah. I liked. You couldn't help but like some of it. I think that it is. I actually really enjoyed some of the dumber aspects of it. But I think whoever is in charge, if they will just please listen to me, because obviously I know what's right? Can they please just stop needing to have a 10 billion little tiny fighting vehicles all the time? This isn't Star Wars, dude. There aren't any X-Wings here. You don't need to have 700 ships flying around the ship shooting each other all the time. That isn't what happens in Star Trek. Don't do it. You could have just had a standoff without 8 million little swarmy ships all the time. No, they had to do that for no reason that made no sense. Also, where did any of it come from?
Yeah, I had a lot of comments on that.
That is the thing that annoyed me about all of that last part. And it kind of it throws me out of what could have been a cool ship battle because they have to make a giant space Star It, like they're trying to make a Star Wars style fight with like people in fighter jets when there are no fighter jet equivalents in the Star Trek
I
universe.
have a theory about all that. We'll get to it. I completely agree with you.
But overall, like the arc of the stuff that they do is like the thing that happens in these 3 episodes is a Star Trek kind of story, right? They have this problem. They need to go do a Star Trek thing by building this magical MacGuffin, and then somehow it leads them on a cool time adventure or whatever. That's a Star Trek thing. Like, I liked that part. There was even some like really great scenes between Spock and Burnham and Pike and the Admiral and a bunch of people, and like it was really good, that part. But then it kept going back to this stuff that made no sense and annoyed me. And so like I enjoyed watching this. I don't know I can recommend anyone else watch this.
Oh yeah. I think you have to be.
Like this is the last if you're all the way in on Star Trek stuff, this is the last one that you have to see.
I agree. Yeah, if you're this with 3 episodes really tests your mettle of whether you'll be back to watch season 3 and whether you enjoy Star Trek enough to be like, okay, there's good here.
Yeah.
I definitely liked some of it.
Right.
I don't know that I liked all of it. So let's get
Right.
started. Episode 12.
Yeah.
There is a signal that comes
Klingon planet.
over the Klingon planet of Boreth, where the son of, I forget her character's name,
Laurel and Voke.
Laurel and Voke, which originally we were only told was a land of monks. But JJ,
Not wrong.
the monks protect the darkest secret in the entire universe. And it's amazing how much time and many times the universe has been in the hands of this crew.
Yeah. This is the Temple of Plot Devices here. We had to go to the Temple of Plot Devices to get the plot device.
They have time crystals. So many time crystals. Crystals everywhere. Crystals coming out of their ears. But you don't understand the mystery of the crystals.
I mean, it seemed pretty easy to understand. I feel like they didn't do a good job of guarding them, you know?
They use them to grow trees, apparently.
That was a cool, like, special effect.
Yeah.
Watch the tree grow like at hyper speed or whatever. Like that was kind of interesting.
He used a key to open a door, even though he said some sort of mysterious phrase.
You know, it's a temple. They got like religious practices or whatever. You gotta say the phrase 3 times when you pass by the altar or whatever. Yeah, sure, okay.
Anyway, so we start out. Voke, Laurel, and Pike are all discussing why they need a time crystal. Obviously, that's what they must be here for because the signal pointed them at the planet.
Right.
I have no idea why they think they need a time crystal. I have no idea how they came to the conclusion they needed a time crystal, and I have no idea why they have to go to the planet to get a time crystal. They just settled on they needed a crystal because.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that is weird here, right? Like they go to this planet and they're like, we got to get this time crystal. Wait, why? They don't know the stuff they know, or they're not trying to do the thing they start trying to do in the next couple episodes. Like they haven't come to that plan yet. So why do they need this crystal?
Because signal pointed us here.
The signal pointed us here. Let's go like break a treaty with the Klingons and get their most precious resource and do a bunch like why like
the crystal pointed us here and then we have an argument about who's going to the planet.
Why is anyone going to the planet?
Yeah. We don't start off on good footing in episode 12 much at all here. I
And like,
get
even if it's been a while since we watched episode 11, but I I don't remember what they were doing at the end of episode 11.
it was kind of
But
one of those let's see what happens next moments.
yeah, I don't think there was any like talk about like, we need the time crystal to proceed. So like
No. And you find out
this
later the
entire
time crystal's useless.
Wait, what?
Well,
It's
you
not
find out
useless.
later the time crystal's useless. They need to charge it.
Oh yeah, of course, right? Like yeah,
Right? So
but
like
they needed it. But the
they
thing is like they do need the time crystal, right? But they
oh my
haven't
god.
done any
I
of the
can't believe
plot
we
work
just said
to
that
explain
sentence.
why. No. It turns out in the end they need it,
I
right?
know, but what the
But the
writing
writers haven't done any of the work to explain why or for what purpose the crystal serves. And
or
so therefore we're
having
on a
crystals
random
in
adventure
general.
for yeah. We're on a random adventure for no like all the setup stuff that they do in like this episode and the next episode should have come before episode 12.
You know,
To
Enterprise happens before this. They didn't need
the show,
time
you mean?
crystals at all. The dude just went back and forth in time with a wristband.
Well, obviously he was from farther in the future then.
Yeah. Okay. Instead of the Klingon going to the Klingon planet, instead of the human Klingon that is the father of the dude that we find out is down there, they somehow
Right.
settle on Pike, a Starfleet officer that shouldn't be down there, has to go.
Yeah, I a lot of questions there. Why
I
doesn't the
particularly
Chancellor go?
the
Why doesn't the
Chancellor.
Chancellor?
Yeah, why doesn't the Chancellor of Klingon? Oh, because that would step on their sovereignty. Why doesn't the human Klingon go? Well, everyone thinks he's dead, but the monks you said don't talk to anyone. So why does it matter if they see him?
Yeah, again, a lot of questions.
Pike goes.
Pike goes.
We cut
Is this-
away. What do we do? We cut away first to Spock and Burnham going on a recon mission.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the part where they cut away and Spock and Burnham decide to leave the ship for no reason while Pike is away.
Not Voke. Ash Tyler tells Burnham that a Section 31 ship missed a check-in by 10 minutes.
Therefore, nefariousness is going on.
Clearly, we must have discovered something that it didn't want us to know. Or it's a trap, you dummies.
What, Andrew? Come on, man. Why would it be a trap?
Why would a computer that already has control of every ship... Okay. They're pretty dumb for being smart. I like that
This thing where like Burnham is like, I have a plan. I'm gonna go do it no matter what. That felt like it is dumb in the way that smart people are dumb sometimes.
Absolutely.
They get this in their head and they're like, I'm doing this, and like we're gonna go do it, even though it's reckless and dangerous and all this stuff.
Spock's totally on board. Sure.
Yeah, that was not the part that I had the issue with in this episode.
No, I mean, I guess you're right. There is a way in which smart people are dumb and they have an idea, and fine.
I wanted like Saru or someone around them to be like, this seems real dumb, but I'm gonna let you go anyway.
Sure.
Right? That would have made me feel better about it.
Yeah, if someone was like, this is probably a trap, right?
Yeah, because it's like so obviously a trap.
Yeah. So obvious. Maybe it's just because that's what we've come to expect. Jet Reno is back just to be Jet Reno, I guess, to remind us who Jet Reno is before Jet Reno becomes important.
Yeah.
I really wish they have enough room to have made her a character that is a stable addition to this show. She has become a plot device.
She does more in these last few episodes here than she did the entire arc of the show. She came on in episode 1, right? Or 2?
Episode 1 of this season is about finding her, I think.
Yeah. So like, what's going on here, man? Like, I
Well,
don't know, dude.
somebody needs to solve the love problems on the ship. Anyway, cut back
Oh
to the
my
important thing.
god.
Yeah, I know. I know. Cut back to the planet, and we find out very little other than that Tenavik, the man in charge of the temple, somehow is Volk's son / Laurel's son.
Time works differently, you see. This isn't a we're writing this character off the show moment and we needed to have the close this plot line. That's not what this is, okay? Trust us. It's just the time is different here. So
I
yeah,
wanted I wanted
that's
to
why.
talk about this time being different thing, and just when you walk through the temple with them as he's explaining what time crystals are to Pike,
Hmm.
uh realizing what they did to this kid.
I
time
know,
didn't
right?
time didn't flow different. The people in the temple stuck a time crystal on the kid and grew it up
Mm-hmm.
instead of raising a kid.
Yep.
That's kind of messed up, man.
Pretty messed up.
I'm not There's no chill in that at all. Why don't
It,
we just
it looks bad.
why don't we just stay in the temple instead of bouncing around like the episode does?
Okay.
Tenavik takes him through the locked door that apparently was important, and they go to the time crystal cave.
Yes, the magic cave where the time crystals are.
In the magic crystal cave, Tenavik automatically knows which crystal is Pike's crystal because apparently there's only one crystal per person, like a lightsaber crystal or something.
My eyes at that line rolled so hard, I think they rolled out of my head and onto the floor.
I couldn't believe it. I was like,
It's just
not only do they have no plan for why they need this thing, they have no
like there's no justification even for any of this.
yeah,
It's
like
so terrible. Like we have talked about the writing being terrible in this show many times.
it's funny because they have such a good grasp of like what it should look like, what it should feel like. Yeah, they changed the Klingons, but actually they kind of like saved it a little bit, and I don't mind them as much anymore.
Yeah, I've kind of like come around on how the Klingons are. I'm like not that against it anymore.
And every time we see them, they seem to be gravitating to being Klingons we remember.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, that's like the universe writing itself. Everything is equilibrium in the end, right? But
Right. This
this
entire
episode,
part where they go to the time palace here is truly baffling. Like
I'm having
this
the hardest time getting through it just remembering it.
Oh yeah. So if the notes tell you anything, right? Like I took maybe like 15 total notes for the entire episode.
Oh, I have less than that. I have like 12.
It's just like little points.
Yeah.
Episode 13 has
I've got
more than that,
I've
right?
got
Like
half a page on 14.
almost double. Yeah, and I have like like an entire a full half of a page on the last episode.
Yeah.
So like this is just baffling. All of the stuff that's happening in this episode is baffling. Why any of it occurs, and it's not that they could. It's not that there couldn't be invented reasons for them to do these things. It's that the invented reasons are explained afterwards instead of before. You can just explain it before. Just come up with the reason ahead of time. And then it's fine. And we don't have this issue.
I really wish that if time crystals were going to be a thing, we had spent a lot more time understanding. I don't know that the audience needs to understand them, but a lot more time somewhere someone should have created the lore of the time crystals.
Yeah, man.
Because being like, oh, look, the Klingons actually possess the power to destroy every civilization in the universe, and even though they're a warlike, fractured race, they don't ever use them. No. We realize how bad they are.
and not even that. Like they just say like, "Oh, we stopped researching these because they are too dangerous." Okay, when
Yeah.
was this?
Yeah.
You know?
When was that, and why didn't you before that time apparently, steal a whole bunch of technology from other people and become the most powerful race in
Yeah,
the like
yeah,
where's
exactly.
the
There's a lot of
reality here of like they had access to these time crystals the entire time?
right.
I
Like
don't know.
even if you go, like here's the thing that would have saved a bunch of this, right? Well, I don't know, a bunch of it. It wouldn't have saved any of the time crystal stuff, but it would have made the reason that we're going to get a time crystal easy, right? If they would have settled on at the end of last episode saying, "Hey, we need to rebuild the suit," or at the beginning of this episode they decide we're going to rebuild the suit.
I
If they
racking
had
my
said
brain to remember if
they
they did that,
dude,
and they didn't.
I don't think so. No, they didn't.
They
If
I
they had
think they
said
come
that
up
at
with
the
the
beginning
idea
of
to rebuild the suit because they got a time crystal, and that's like being like,
yes, exactly.
I am
It's
gonna
a,
build a car because I went and bought an engine. And you're like, why did you go to buy the engine? You didn't have a car.
yeah, exactly. It is literally the cart before the horse. If they had said at the beginning of this episode, I think our only chance here is to rebuild the suit.
Well, there's a
That
lot
means
of
we're
our
going to
only chance here over these episodes, and they are all confusing.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But if they had said that, right, at the beginning of this episode, and then, well, that means we were going to need to get a time crystal. Where can we get a time crystal? And then Ash goes, I know a place. There you go. I rewrote the episode to make sense.
Yeah.
And then it also a lot of the stuff that happens in 13 then makes sense, and 14 as well. And you're just like, dude, this was why?
Yeah.
I all right. Let's finish up with the time temple here. The Pike reaches out. The guy
Oh, he
warns
warns
him,
him. Yeah.
right?
You got to tell him what he warns him.
Uh, people. What's the line? Shoot, I can't remember the
It's
exact line.
basically this, right? Touch the crystal,
It
and
like
you're gonna.
seals your fate.
It'll seal.
Essentially,
No, no. You touch the crystal, and it could drive you mad because it's going to show you your future. And some people can't handle what they see.
right?
And so he
Right.
does it. We see the eventual Delta radiation accident that takes out Captain Pike and puts him in his chair, right? The pretty famous chair
The
from the original
so
series.
right. So for folks who are like, folks who took a minute to remember this, like me, when I watched it, I was
Oh,
like, "What the
really?
heck is this?"
Oh,
I wasn't thinking about it. Right, the
I
whole thing has been so
the beeping
disorienting.
chair is such a thing.
But like once I saw it, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is what's going on." But I didn't get immediately what I was supposed to be seeing.
Right.
But yeah, so like folks who don't remember, in the original series, there's an extremely famous episode called "The Menagerie." Right? Is that the one we're talking about here?
I think it's the menagerie. That's the beginning
Yeah.
of the that's the beginning of
And
the Pike arc.
right, and Pike comes to the Enterprise where Kirk is in charge and talks, and there's a he's in a wheelchair, right, like a completely enclosed wheelchair, like you see in this episode here, and his face is all kind of like horribly burned or whatever from. I don't remember if they said what the accident was at that time or not, or if it like came out later.
I'm pretty sure they tell you it was Delta radiation or
Yeah,
something.
and so there was a big explosion or whatever, and Pike has been confined to this wheelchair. You learn he used to be a captain, all kinds of stuff, right?
Uh, yeah, it's a little more complicated than that. As far as I remember, Spock basically like kidnaps Pike.
Oh,
So this is a
I haven't seen that episode in like a long time.
okay. So it's related to the original pilot of the show.
Yes, I remember it uses scenes from the original pilot, right?
Yeah, so it uses scenes from the pilot called The Cage,
Right.
where they went to the planet, which we have seen in this season of
Telos 4?
Telos 5, Talos 4. We saw the
Yeah.
people with the big heads. They
The people with
showed,
the illusions.
yeah, they helped Spock. Those people uh, and they missed the opportunity for like the Talos people or somebody to like kind of give the idea that Pike would end up back there, right? Um, Obviously he has the reaction, I believe, to have already done the cage mission.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Uh, because when they go to Talos 4, he knows what's up. So, as in the menagerie, this horrible accident has already befallen him, and I believe Spock tries to get Pike back there to live out his life in a better way.
Right.
Because obviously,
I mean,
you know,
being
he's in a
stuck
wheelchair,
is
and
not great.
yeah, and he could live nicely instead.
Right.
So it's a cool. I think it's a cool moment.
I was going to say I actually really liked this part as, you know, like a character moment for him. It was a scene. It was a cool callback to the original series, right, where Pike is, and because they already did the callback to the Telosians, right?
Right.
This
Sure.
is a similar callback to things that happened that we know happen in Pike's character arc.
Yeah.
And Pike is willing to like accept this future for himself
Yeah.
because not just because he knows like we need this thing, which again it's not clear why they need that thing,
Right.
but he trusts, he believes that there's a reason.
It's unfortunate a little bit that they didn't show him his eventual future of like, and maybe we just didn't see it. Although he acts horrified, right? I would have liked them
Right.
to show him in the chair going to Talos, so that you get the idea that he accepts his fate so easily later on in this show, um, because he knows it all turns out the way that it is not horror. You know, like I kind of would have liked to see that maybe.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it was a cool scene.
It's very cool. I think of everything that you could say about episode 12, the best thing to come out of it is this idea that Pike knows his future and still becomes and behaves and will be the model Starfleet officer until the end.
Right.
Best part of that episode, for sure. Even though we get
definitely.
there through this convoluted way.
So back with the Spike and Burn 'em away mission.
Yeah, so I think he just takes the thing, right? And then we go back there.
Yeah.
He takes the thing and basically Tenovik's like, your fate is sealed.
Yeah. And then he goes back to the ship.
Okay, so the Section 31 ship that they've been
Right.
tracking and the other plot line becomes important finally at the end of this episode.
Well, we haven't really talked about what happens over there. They show up, right?
Yep.
Thinking that there's going to be something happening there. Oh, there's a lot of dead people here.
Not a surprise.
Again, yeah, not a surprise.
Yeah. There's one person left alive, and he's the tactical officer from the Shenzhou. His name is Gant.
Who Burnham happens to know,
right?
Who used to be on the Shenzhou, right?
Right.
Real convenient there.
Oh, and that character tells them the only way to find out what's going on is back on the ship, which of course he doesn't want to go back to. No. But I'm the only one that has access to the computer. I guess I'll go.
The most half-hearted defense there.
Yeah. We have the second instance, JJ, that I can remember from this season of people don't understand computers.
I know.
They're gonna trap the AI in a fake subsystem.
Someone in the writing room or whomever came up with this part of the plot line read one article about how computer security works. And it was like, honeypots are a thing. We're going to do that. And that's how we'll beat this AI. Ignoring that that's not what a honeypot is and how it works. And also ignoring the fact that this isn't how computers work.
Learn them, JJ.
So, but of course, before they can trap the AI in their magical plan and restore, the ship and everything, Andrew, someone has to go manually be the bait.
Right, because also that's how networked computers work.
Right. You have to manually have someone be the bait in order to make the computers
The computer
do
AI will
something.
notice that you're on one console creating a subsystem only on the console. That'd be like plugging in. Their plan is to plug in a USB drive and hope the AI runs into it.
So there is in computer networks and computer security, there is this concept of doing something like this, right? The purpose of it is to attract foreign malware or viruses or whatever into this like closed system so that you can study them, right?
Sure.
You set this system up, you leave all the ports open, you turn off the firewall, you do all this kind of stuff that you shouldn't do with your
Uh
computer,
huh.
you put it out there, and then the viruses and all the malware and stuff come and infect it, and then you unplug it and examine them right in your system that you know how it's set up and have all the tools ready for,
Uh
right?
huh. Is your computer already infected when you do that?
No, usually it's not. No.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Because viruses don't
Also
just copy
usually
themselves. Hmm.
so that's the thing, right? This doesn't trap anything. The way these work, right? Because computers, you aren't removing the virus from everywhere else by bringing it here. That's the thing, right?
That's the thing.
You bring the virus there, and now this thing is also infected.
Right. But
But
because we said the word
because
AI, it must behave like a single foreign entity.
yeah, and that's the part that really makes no sense at all
Oh, it makes no
in
sense
any
because
of
they
this.
understand later that it's an AI, therefore it can control 9 million spaceships at one time.
Yeah, look, the writer didn't get the memo in this episode, I guess.
Yeah. Uh,
So they have someone go manually be the bait.
we have to explain. I have 3 notes about a tricorder here because, duh, Gant is actually the AI, just like
What, Andrew? Who could have seen this coming? How is that even possible?
what's his face is the AI, and he's made up of little nanobots.
Yes, robots in disguise.
I wish we named these episodes because that would be the perfect name for this series of episodes.
Honestly,
It's
yeah.
really robots in disguise. Oh my god. I didn't realize it till now. We're just watching Transformers. They're going to add Transformers in
The
season
Section
3.
31 ships look a bit like Transformers.
They're literally
even.
just going to add Transformers in season 3. We've been baited this whole time.
I mean, I don't know. I would watch Burnham and Optimus Prime fight against Megatron and I don't know whoever their evil bad guy is.
It'll be
I'd
some
go
sort
for
of Romulan or something, right?
future Romulan. Yeah.
Is there any? Yeah. I would watch it. We have to spend time explaining that the AI is in the dude and that it blocked the tricorder because the ship detected it.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we have to explain this type of stuff?
The funny thing is in this show, they're really over explaining details that don't matter and really bad at explaining things that are vitally important to understanding the plot.
There's a lot of times I feel like, well, if you just didn't do this and you did this a different way, you'd spend a lot less time explaining things you don't need to explain to me. I know what
It's like we blocked the tricorder because blah 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 blah. It's like, well, what if instead of that,
yeah,
you don't have them pull out the tricorder, and
sure.
when they're on the shuttle, you go, "Oh, our sensors are acting all weird here. It must
Right.
be from all these dead bodies causing weird problems. Our sensors are going to be bad."
Right.
And then you just go, "Oh, look, now we don't have to worry about sensors."
So they figure out that there's a Section 31 fleet coming.
Wait, hold on.
Oh,
we
wait,
gotta talk about the dumbest part.
The
yes.
magnetizing, right?
No, even before that, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the obviously robot guy taken over by Control, the AI, was the whole point of this trap, which obviously was a trap and everyone saw was a trap except everyone in the show, was so that they could talk to Burnham separately from Spock and try to convince her to give them the data.
Uh-huh.
This was the plan.
The plan was that Burnham would be the one to show up when the Section 31 ship was 10 minutes late. That was the plan.
This was the plan.
Not Voq, not Pike.
Not any other member of Section 31.
Not other people.
Not any admiral.
No admirals.
Not other ships.
No one
Only
else would
Burnham
show. Just Burnham.
Yeah. And then they could talk to her and either take her over or force her to come around to their side, because remember, she's mad at this point. And so she would be willing to give the data to the AI for some reason.
I was hoping to get past this.
Yeah.
Anyway, they magnetize the floor.
Yeah. And all the little nano robots drain out because that's how metal works.
I mean, it's fine. But it seems like a huge we could have done this earlier scenario.
Yeah, certainly.
And a huge we could do this later scenario when they don't use it. Anyway, there's a fleet coming of Section 31 ships, and Burnham says, you know what? This isn't worth it. And everybody decides together they should blow up the Discovery. End of episode.
So, yeah, Burnham and Spock leave. They're like, oh, well, this is dumb. We're out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back to the ship, and then a fleet of Section 31 ships show up. They're like, the only solution is we got to blow up the ship.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
Episode 13.
Episode 13. The Enterprise has arrived.
Was this in... Again, I feel like some explanation was needed here. The Enterprise just showed up. This was planned.
The Enterprise showed up within minutes because they were close by.
I see.
Luckily. Guess. Luckily close by. I thought Disco was smaller.
Yeah.
The Enterprise looks like a tiny ship next to the Discovery.
It's kind of weird, right?
It is strange.
I think so there's two things going on, I think, right? The Enterprise has that like kind of 2-level design with the saucer and then the main section and then the cells up. Whereas Discovery is a lot flatter.
Right.
Maybe that contributes somehow.
Maybe. It just looks longer. Every time they shot it, it looked really long compared to the Enterprise.
Yeah. But let's talk about the most important thing here, Andrew.
Yep.
Evacuation corridors.
Gigantic evacuation corridors.
Never before seen or heard of or talked about. Apparently every ship has these,
Okay.
According to them.
Okay.
You have gigantic space corridors that you can bridge between ships and have an entire cruise worth of people run across.
Fine with me.
It looks so goofy.
It does look goofy. It's fine. It's like
I just saw the way they fold out is like ludicrous. Like they literally like someone took a what are those like a Chinese finger trap or whatever?
Yeah, a little bit. Mm-hmm.
And just like kind of like unfolded it and spread it out between the 2 points. I'm sorry. It's just that the scene where those fold out, it just looks so ridiculous that I had to bring it up.
It looked pretty goofy.
I didn't actually care that they did this. Like they had to move all the people from one ship to the other ship for plot reasons. Sure, go for it, whatever.
Did they have to do that?
Andrew, they're abandoning ship. They're going to blow the ship up. They got to get them off.
Sure. I wrote a note right here at this point of the show that said, this is super brave if they follow through, period, capital I, capital F, period.
Oh, look. Look, man. You knew. The second they're like, we got to blow this ship up, they were not going to blow this ship up.
I thought it was going to be super cool. And then they're talking on the bridge about the AI and what it means. And like, I started thinking to myself, if this happens and the AI, the Sorry, not the AI. Well, the AI maybe. Like if the AI gets a hold of the ship, but the ship gets tossed to the future or something. Like if something crazy happens here and that thing and the database somehow morph into the creature from Picard. Like if this is
No, the
connected,
creature from Picard comes from another dimension or
I
whatever.
know, but I
Remember, there
thought
was a bunch
for
of bullshit
I
that we had to
remembered
deal with
for a
there.
minute
So
Picard, and I was like, if this is all connected to Picard, I'm gonna be so happy at the end of this.
you were extremely wrong.
I,
And
I am.
the reason that it can't be is because those were like aliens from another dimension, right? Which definitely is different than this, which is an alien from our future. It's not like they could be the same or like create a sensible fiction there, world building or whatever. No, 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 not possible. It has to be like completely different ancient aliens. Okay, different
It
ones.
would be cool if people in charge of shows running at the same time talk to each other. Just saying.
Yeah, sure would. Sure would, Andrew.
Especially if they have the same enemies running around to fight.
Or like, what if they shared a universe and they therefore had to like conform to like things that happened in that universe in a way that made sense?
Hmm. All right, back on to 13. Pike looks genuinely happy to be on the Enterprise.
I will say the shot where Pike walks onto the Enterprise bridge for the first time is very cool. I enjoyed that. That was a fun part of this episode.
I loved that Giorgio shows up
The panning shot across the bridge. Oh, it was so good.
as well on the Enterprise because now that's canon that Giorgio has been on the Enterprise.
Okay.
I like that that's canon. And she also has a great line where she looks at Pike and she's like, "Orange, really?"
Oh yeah, the color, right?
The color of the Enterprise. It's pretty good.
I like how much they made the Enterprise corridors and stuff look kind of like fancy updated versions of the 60s Enterprise.
Yeah, it
Right?
very much had that feeling of like, no, the '60s show was just not high def. Don't worry about it. It's
Right, yeah,
it's all the
that's
same.
what I was just gonna say. It's like this is what you would have seen if we were using high def cameras
Yeah,
back then.
yeah, it's good.
It's like you see a little more detail on the bulkheads and stuff, so it's less flat. But it's definitely like, those colors are those colors.
I
Man.
1000% really like the redesign of the bridge. I don't know if you noticed this, but it's not the same as the bridge from the Kelvin universe either. What they did is they took that set from the original and they made it like a bullpen. So like where Uhura sits and where Spock sits and all those people sit is not the end of the bridge. I don't know if you noticed that. It's like it's like a lowered section, and behind all those screens of where Uhura and Spock and all those people would be was another level out of the bridge with more stations.
Oh, no, I don't know if I noticed that.
Yeah. Because when he gets off the turbo lift, I was like, whoa, that bridge is way bigger than it used to be. And then he walks down into this like bullpen that is the bridge we know from the original series.
Interesting.
I thought that was a super cool use of the original and also redesign. Cool idea.
Very cool. I am just like, I'm contemplating this, and I think that's rad. I totally did not notice that, but I definitely did notice like, oh, like, hey, here's the. Well, anyway, we'll get to it.
Well, I wonder at this point, when I saw the Enterprise and how much work they put into it, I was like, they must have known at this point that they were going to reuse these sets.
Yeah, so like when you saw this, right, you're like, oh no, they were very serious about the Enterprise this whole time. It's like, I think when they did this point of this show, this was the point where they're like, actually, Strange New Worlds is the show we're making now.
Yeah.
Which is why it felt like they were trying to wrap everything up, right? Because it definitely feels like they're out here like searching for all the weird hanging plot threads, and we got to wrap them all together right now, which is, why they write off Voke and L'Rell's son. It's why they're doing all this stuff with the time crystals, and they get rid of the Discovery ship and all this stuff.
They literally put a bow on this at the end.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah. Burnham is tasked with taking the crystal over to the ship. I don't know why anyone that knows Burnham would
Yeah, give her that
give her
task.
that
Bad
task.
plan.
But she, of course, touches the crystal,
Sees the future.
sees all the future, and tells them they can't self-destruct the Discovery and they can't shoot the Discovery to blow it up. What are they going to have to do?
And everyone just believes her and is like, "Oh, okay, let's do
Well,
something else then."
Spock is now in the mode of whatever Burnham says, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So they, of course, have to have a meeting. And in the meeting, they brain out that Burnham must have been the one that sent the signals.
Yes.
Because they need to send the Discovery to the future or something.
They're in danger as long as the sphere data on the Discovery, which they can't destroy now, is in this time. They're in danger.
Yes.
So they got to send it to the future so it's not in this time anymore.
So that they're not in danger.
But doesn't the AI control the future, Andrew?
Not if he doesn't get the sphere data in the past.
Time makes no sense. And so it's just, I don't know, man. But yeah, sure. They got to send it to the future. All right, dude. Yeah, sure. Okay, great.
Yeah. Giorgio says, why don't we shoot a torpedo? And
Seems like a good plan.
Everyone's kind of like, nah. And then she says my second favorite line, I thought there were no bad ideas. And Pike says, that's a bad idea.
So good.
And then they shock us with a little reference to a short trek. And not a little reference, I guess.
Yeah, so they find out. So at this point, right now they've committed. Okay, we got to rebuild the suit.
Oh yeah,
Burnham's
so now we have to rebuild the suit for Burnham, and Burnham has to fly
because the suit is bonded to her DNA or whatever.
Because we can't possibly recode a DNA marker in the suit. It has to be built for her.
Right.
The people that thought you could trap an AI in a honeypot said there's no way to reprogram a DNA marker in a suit.
The only reason I bought it here is because they don't understand how the suit works, right? They're just rebuilding the one they already knew.
Okay. All right. If you buy into it, I'll let it go.
I'm not like, look, man, there's so many problems with everything that happens that like I can't get mad about this. But the thing that I got, the reason I was okay with it, whether I was like happy about it or not, was they're like, we don't know what this suit is. It's magical technology, even though it's not. Her mom built it like over 20 years or whatever ago.
Yeah, there should be documents of it, but I guess they were destroyed.
It feels like this isn't that hard to do, but whatever. They don't understand the suit. They took a bunch of readings of it and stuff before, and they're just recreating the stuff that they had.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I guess.
But
so that means Burnham has to fly it.
Then the next signal shows up over Zahia.
Right.
And
because they now know they have a time crystal, which they didn't know they needed before, but they had, luckily.
Well,
but then
good thing we have this time crystal.
Yeah, gee, if only we could have explained why we needed it.
But we can't make it work.
Because we have to charge it, Andrew. We don't know how to do that.
And the last time we worked with a time crystal, we needed a supernova.
Right, where are we going to find a supernova, Andrew?
Boom, signal over Zahia, which is fine. We have come to accept the signals. I'm surprised they brought back a short trek.
I think you and probably everyone else watching was surprised because not only do like this person, what's her name, the princess
Poe,
thank you, show up, and all of a sudden is like Tilly, my best friend from the like 140-minute episode.
Look, everyone on the show is also confused.
I think probably everyone watching this show was confused.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that the main characters were all like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you didn't watch that short trek, you weren't in on the joke, which kind of probably would feel bad.
Yeah. I think that of all of those short treks, right? This is the one that ended up being canon.
To be fair, it's the only one. It's the only one that's not subbed out, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's that one in the future. Oh my God, there's the one in the future, JJ.
Yeah,
No way.
maybe.
You think?
I don't know, dude.
I got to look up who that character is now. Oh man, I'm going to look that up because what if the short treks all eventually connect?
I mean,
No,
it's
they can't
possible,
all
like,
eventually connect, but at least maybe some of them might have been pre-planned. All right.
it's
Okay.
possible.
I see.
Well, but the ship is empty, right? Like, right? That's
Yeah,
the deal. That ship is empty when that guy shows up.
but it's also aware. Hmm.
Hmm.
We got to rewatch the future one now.
I'm not going to do that.
I'll watch it for us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, look. Poe and Jet make a supernova in a box.
Right, magically. Yeah, again, something you wouldn't know if although Tilly does kind of hand wave it pretty quick, but like apparently Poe is like a genius.
She can
Like
recrystallize dilithium, which would change the entire balance of the universe.
a magical science genius, and she is just like unbelievably smart at solving engineering problems. So I mean, it is a good thing they went and found her because apparently she figured out how to charge a time crystal in a box.
Yeah.
Because Jet said a funny one-liner.
Yep. Look, Jet said a funny one-liner.
But it's gonna take some time, so they gotta,
she's also an
get it
ice cream fiend, apparently, which
lines up with the short trek anyway.
lines up with the short trek, but also provides another great Giorgio line in one episode, which is that she hates ice cream.
I don't remember when she said that.
Poe hands her an empty bowl of ice cream, and she goes, "Someone take this foul slop." I love that she's so
if they
cool.
eventually do that Section 31 spin-off show with Giorgio, I will be very happy.
Buddy, I don't understand how they're gonna get there.
Me neither, Andrew. Hold on, we're not there.
We're not there yet. All right. It's a one-way trip, we find out.
Yes.
So
because they want to leave the ship in the future, and that means Burnham can't come back.
No, it has something to do with something else, but I can't remember why.
Yeah, there's some reason why they can't. Because if they leave the time suit in the present, then also there's a problem.
Yeah.
Wormhole?
Yeah. I don't get it. Anyway, the essential personnel have to go back to the Discovery. Which
because
means
they have to fly the ship to the future, right?
Which means that the Discovery is then absolutely chock full of people.
Yeah, it's kind of like, man, I mean, I guess it makes sense that the essential personnel isn't just like 7 people.
Yeah, but you'd think it'd be less than what ends up happening in these next episodes where it's literally like, did the entire crew come back?
It does seem like it would be less than this.
Because I have serious...
You get some scenes in sickbay where there's like 50 people in there.
Yeah, and you'd be like, okay, well then there must be even more people somewhere because that means engineering still has people. The ship is still working.
Maybe in the Star Trek future, they signed on to the idea that like grocery store clerks are essential workers too. And so it's just,
ouch.
It's just
ouch.
Like, there's so many people because like, well, we got to have the guy who runs the Deck 12 Quickie Mart. He's there.
Yeah. Well, how will we get snacks during the invasion?
Yeah.
Including Sarek. Sarek shows up in his essential personnel, apparently.
No, that was a mind thing.
No,
right?
It wasn't. Mm-mm. They walk through a door and they leave on a shuttle. Because what's her name is there?
Amanda?
Yeah. I'm almost certain they leave on a shuttle. It shows them leaving on a shuttle.
I mean, I know you're right, but I thought for some reason that it was like a hologram communication.
I point these things out because we could ignore them and move on. But it's important to note there's a lot of this type of just like, what are we doing?
This episode and the episode that follows it is a whirlwind of, here's the thing, look at it for 10 seconds. All right, I'm throwing it away. Here's another thing. Look at this for 10 seconds. I'm throwing it away. Yeah. You get like one scene out of everything, and then they just like quickly throw it away, never to be thought of or explained ever again.
The entire crew tells Pike that, hey, we're going to the future with her. We're all doing it, including Spock, which was a gigantic red flag for me.
I mean, you knew something was going to happen, right?
Right, you knew either that
like Burnham is so surprised. It's like, oh, they're going to come with me into the future. Wow, like I'm so surprised that they would do this. Like, obviously, that would be what happens, Burnham. They're your friends. Come on.
well, it's a one-way trip.
It is.
So, I mean, it makes sense for a couple of them, but not a lot of them. But it tells you, like Spock's obviously not going to make it to the future because
Well, he doesn't, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Jet has to open the cage. It charges faster because the Section 31 ships are coming.
Right.
And they're going to blow them all out of the sky. I need, and now knowing what happens at the end of this, I need Pike and Georgiou to have more screen time. Because they're good. They're goodbye at the transporter.
You mean together?
Yes.
Together.
I need them to be on the screen together more. They're goodbye at the transporter, where she's on the pad and starts transporting and goes, "Hey, I'm a Terran from the alternate universe." And Pike says, "What alternate universe?" and winks at her.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like is the epitome of the like most burgeoning, fantastic buddy show that never came to be.
That is either great foreshadowing by the writers for like something they're going to do in Strange New World, or like Pike doing the like Starfleet said I can't talk about this wink.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the second one.
I'm sure it is too, but I wish it was the first one. That would be so cool if they have an arc where they go to the Terran universe on that show. But
it would be cool.
Who knows? All right, so then they like prepare for battle, episode 14.
Do you remember, before we get into episode 14, when in Star Trek 4 they just went around the sun backwards and time travel was no big deal?
I mean, the ship didn't like it, man. It shook a lot. There's a lot of shaking when they did that.
Remember when they needed to come back to the future and they went around the sun the other way with whales?
Yeah, they had to build the tank out of regular plexiglass, and Scotty had to teach their computer like magic technology by talking into a mouse.
Do you remember how the hardest part of that movie was the stuff to do in the movie instead of the time travel? And we wouldn't have gone through 5 episodes of trying to get parts to make a suit to ferry a ship to the future.
See, the thing is that that hadn't happened yet. That's why, right? Because that happens in the future. Because Kirk has to have been captain of the Enterprise already.
Do you remember when Spock was the one that figured out how to do the time travel around the sun?
Are you saying that because of this, he knew how time travel worked?
I'm wondering.
Figure it out.
I'm wondering how Spock didn't figure out now that you could go around the sun backwards instead of waiting 30 years later to figure out how you have to go around the sun backwards. Why didn't he help his own sister go around the sun backwards?
Andrew, there's a lot of time. You know, he went on many missions. He probably studied some stuff between then and now.
Next, we're going to find out that Star Trek 4 is being rewritten and remade so that the sun was actually full of time crystals. That's why it works.
Andrew, don't give them ideas, please. Don't even say into existence that what you're thinking. That's terrible. Star Trek 4 Save the Whales is a perfect movie. We should leave it alone.
Absolutely. I can't. There's no more percents left in the 100% that I agree with you.
Yes.
Here's your
actual name of Star Trek 4. I actually only know it as Star Trek 4 Save the Whales.
I don't. Now that
The Voyage Home.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, I know that I know the title, but you've now messed me up.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna let you do the opening to this episode 14. How many shuttles does the Enterprise have, JJ?
So many shuttles. That's literally my first line. So many. There's like 500 flying out of the bay. What is this?
What are the pods?
Well,
What are
I don't
the
know.
what are you know like what are all these ships and where did they all come from?
Great question.
And why didn't we ever see
Not
them in Star
explained.
Trek before? And
Or ever again.
also number one outfitted them with weapons.
They mentioned that, right? This is the thing that I hate about this show. They take the time to have number one mention, "Oh, I'm outfitting all of our shuttles and pods with weapons." And Pike's like, "Oh, that's a good idea.
And
Thanks."
she said that, and I thought, oh, okay, cool. They'll have a little
Three little
three
shuttles
little
flying
shuttles to
around.
help Burnham do her mission. That's what I thought when I heard that. I was like, that's a great
Yeah.
idea. They'll have
Yeah.
3 to 10 shuttles to
Smash
do
cut to the cargo bay, disgorging a
swarm.
fleet of shuttles and swarms of pods. Just, I cannot. What is that? The way they treat this, it's like the Star Trek shuttle bay is an Imperial Star Destroyer's worth of TIE fighters. And like half the interior of the Imperial Star Destroyer is full of TIE fighters. That's like all that's in there, I think.
Yeah.
Also,
I've seen the
ships are much
diagrams
bigger
of,
relative.
I've seen the diagrams of the Enterprise. The shuttle bay is not that big at the back.
No, it's not. And in other Star Treks that use a similar layout to the back of their ship, it is shown to also not be that big. You can fit 2-3 shuttles across.
Discovery has a lot of shuttles, in my opinion.
You sure see them use them a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever gotten... I guess we do get some views of their cargo bay, and it seems bigger.
Star Trek 5. No, Star Trek 6.
The Undiscovered Country.
Has one of, in my brain, the most iconic battles between the Enterprise and a bird of prey.
Oh, yeah. Wait, this is the one where it's cloaked, right? And they're trying to figure out how to shoot it?
Yes.
Yeah.
The tension in that scene is Kirk being like, back up, back up, back up, go forward, spin us, do all these types of maneuvers.
There was tension in that scene.
In doing those things, even though you don't see the Enterprise even do half of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, there's a torpedo shot from nowhere. You don't see the bird of prey half the time.
Mm-hmm.
So half the time of a space battle that is one of the most iconic in the movie series, you only see one ship. One ship. The opportunity here was to
I
have...
literally have a note written that says there's no tension in this entire battle.
No, not one time. There was explosions every second.
Constantly.
And you lose every moment of this tension that could have... That torpedo hitting the Enterprise could have been a moment.
Yeah, it could have been super cool.
If they had anyone to plot out the space battle. They didn't have anyone plot out the space battle. And the worst and most egregious part of this is that the capital ships are in a flat disc sitting still the entire time.
Yep. That's something that Star Trek does all the time. And they like forget that space is 3D. They forget it all the time. In every encounter, at least in more recent Star Trek, there is like this remembrance of like, well, we have to have them like the two ships like show each other like nose to nose or whatever, which like obviously is not how you would attempt to actually fight in space because your ship can go all kinds of directions. Discovery has been surprisingly good about that until now, of course. But like, yeah, why aren't there any ships above them or below them? Like, you know, their ship can just turn and fly down.
Discovery needs to be protected at all costs. Why is the Enterprise not in some sort of rotating pattern around the ship to take hits for it?
They do that eventually, but like, yes, why didn't they start that way? Great question. yeah, I mean, I literally have notes all throughout this part. Is like space tiny craft are stupid. The Queen is on a shuttle. This big space battle is terrible. There's no tension. So yeah,
I don't get how this happened. This whole episode, we don't have to talk too much about it because the battle should be something that matters. Leland has like these billions of drones.
mm-hmm. And a bunch of huge like Section 31 capital ships, which should be a big problem.
Right. But what if this battle instead, JJ, had been 3 Section 31 capital ships versus the 2 ships? That already is enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my God, they're outnumbered 3-2, and those Section 31 ships outgun the other 2 ships. Like,
yeah,
that alone is enough.
You're done. You're done.
And you could have had this cool running battle where, like,
and you could have had a thing where like the Section 31 ships are afraid to destroy Discovery too much because they'll damage the data, right?
Right.
Like that could have been a thing.
Man.
And then you could see why Enterprise is taking all the hits instead. And it's so easy to write this scene in a way where there are stakes because they built stakes.
Yeah.
But instead, by throwing 8 billion little ships around out there and all explosions and fighting all the time, like this entire episode literally is one giant space battle.
Yeah.
And there's no tension in it because of 8 billion little craft flying around and shooting each other all the time.
And also, since when does Enterprise get astromech droids to repair it?
I have a line about that right here. It says, what the F are these R2-D2 blank MFers?
I've never ever seen that in a Star Trek ever one time.
It's not a thing, Andrew. It's not a thing. They made some friggin' R2-D2 droids here because they needed to have. They didn't need anything.
They didn't need anything
to do this.
They literally, the scene could have been deleted.
Yeah.
No benefit.
Nothing of value was lost, right?
Oh my God. That's the problem. That's literally, and that's the best part about this is that I can skip half my notes because of what we've said here. Is literally like 3/4 of the episode of notes is why is no one moving? Why is Poe in a shuttle? How does Poe know how to beat the drones? Why does Discovery have so much crew? What are these droids like?
Yeah. What that entire scene where the little droids pop out, they're like, get the drones ready for blah, 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 blah. And then they do that. That entire scene was pointless.
Yeah.
Not only was it pointless because they didn't do anything, it's pointless because later they have a whole bunch of good scenes solving this problem.
Mm-hmm.
They still had the good scenes solving the problem. You didn't need this other one. This episode, by the way, episode 14, is over an hour long, which is like 20 minutes or something longer than the typical Discovery episode.
Yep.
Look here, man. You cut that scene, and there's a bunch of special effects in it, too. I bet that saves you guys like $50K.
Yeah, there was no reason. Especially when the coolest thing that shows up in this episode isn't that or anything else. It's the idea that Ash Tyler went and got the Klingons to help them out, and there's a D7.
Yes. The coolest part, like in the middle of this fight, right? The giant Klingon ship materializes in the middle of the Section 31 ship. It is awesome.
Again, can still do this scene. Discovery and Enterprise are outnumbered 3-2. They're having a really hard time. Discovery is trying to block for the Enterprise because Enterprise is taking all the hits because the Section 31 ships won't shoot the Discovery. Enterprise isn't going to survive much longer.
The Klingon ship shows up and hits
there's
the guy.
a D7.
It's the same scene. It's the same scene.
It's the same exact scene, and a D7 shows up, and you can actually see it because there's not a zillion things happening on the screen at the same time.
And you still get the cool scene of, by the way, we didn't talk about it, but Ash said, like, I'm going to have to leave, and I can't tell you why. He could have told him. Like, I don't
why
think he
couldn't
would
he
have
say,
said
I'm
anything.
going to go get some help from the Klingons?
He could have told him.
First of all, Laurel said that they should never see each other again in the last episode, or in episode 12, is like, you're dead. You should never come back to the Klingon Empire because I will no longer be in charge if someone finds out you're alive. And then he's standing on the bridge.
On the bridge, I know,
with
dude.
all sorts of Klingons looking at him.
He gives some orders at some point.
Yeah.
I will say, the Klingons showing up in the middle of this battle is like a joyous moment and of fun in a otherwise like very dreary space battle, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sweet, the Klingons are here. Like maybe some cool stuff will actually happen.
And then they don't use them that much.
They don't use them that much.
Yeah.
It's too bad because you get some cool scenes of like, them shooting it and then like Laurel giving orders in like a super Klingon way. It's like, today is a good day to die. You're like, yes, dude.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they would say.
That's what I wanted. I really feel strongly this could have been 1,000% less frenetic and way better.
Yes.
Burnham can't go to the future because she has to send the signals first.
Yeah.
Why?
Can't make the why does the suit know that? I don't know. That's some garbage writing there. But it does make logical sense, right? Like they have to cause the events that led them here. Otherwise, like, the time won't work. I can buy that part.
All right.
I can't buy why the suit just would refuse to do it. That's the part that doesn't make any sense.
Okay. So we see the signals all coming together.
By the way, Saru's sister shows up at some point.
Right? Oh, yeah. Saru's sister shows up. We're not going to leave you to fight by yourself. Who cares?
How? Yeah. Why was that in?
It was in because Saru's leaving for the future. So they wanted to give him his moment. But and speaking of moments and moments that like we've discussed before, not needing to happen or needing to happen not in the middle of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stamets and Hugh
You're
again.
Paul and Hugh.
Yeah. Paul and Hugh again in the middle of something else become a casualty of too much going on.
Yeah. And it's terrible because so Stamets got hurt in an explosion, or did that happen? Not happen yet.
No, that happens when they're building the suit, and she's already in the suit. Right. So he's in sick bay. He's dying. Hugh has to put him in a coma.
And there's a good scene there at the end of like Hugh telling him, "Hey, like I had to come back because it didn't make sense, and you are the reason," and all this stuff. And that scene could have been good if they had given it the time to have the scene instead of trying to cram it in 30 seconds in between two explosions.
It was definitely smashed in there because the next thing that I remember happening was Giorgio and Leland gravity fighting in a hallway.
Yeah, someone watched Inception and was like, I need to recreate this in Star Trek. That would be super cool. And everyone was like, yeah, but like, why? And the guy's like, shut up, we're doing it. And then they kind of did it.
I was confused
it's that scene where the guy like fights on all the sides of the walls because the building is rotating in the dream.
Yeah. Right? I was just confused
like
why there's gravity generators anywhere except the floor.
Yeah, so there aren't, you would assume, right? And like, in any case, that's not how gravity would work. Like, if you say that, like, anyway, gravity, whatever.
Yeah.
It's silly.
It still looked good.
I will say that of these things, like, it's funny, all these giant explosions and stuff are going on outside, and the ship is constantly shaking because explosions.
Right.
The like hand-to-hand fighting scenes and stuff end up not being completely terrible because Michelle Yeoh knows how to do that. Yes. And is like a good action star. Yeah. Like all of the time that she's been in all those like, Hong Kong action movies and stuff from like, years and years ago, like she actually knows how to, or well, I don't know if she did this, but like maybe she told them hire this guy, like someone choreographed the fight scene. And so then it looks like a fight scene.
I have to say any fight scene she's in looks impeccable.
It ends up looking good, right?
And she
I want to point out though, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, unlike a bunch of other characters, she seems to genuinely enjoy like shooting phasers and stuff like that too. I get this feeling like she's like she's got to be the one on the set that enjoys the toys and the fighting and that part the most, you know?
Yeah, you definitely get the sense that like she's at home when like the fight choreographer is there and they're practicing the moves and she's going through the like, the dance of the punches and stuff like that, right? Like she seems to be in it when she has those scenes and is like, photographed like blowing stuff up. Like
Yeah.
that seems to be the part that she's into.
Yeah.
I do want to say quickly while we're talking about fight scenes, the other security officer that's with her
Mm-hmm.
had a line that I hated so much. I had to write it down.
Oh, okay.
Um, After Leland is on board the ship and she and Giorgio go to fight him. Giorgio's like, "Hey, do you want to come with me to like blow him up or get revenge or something?" And she says, "Yum yum."
Okay.
I hate that.
Well, good news. She won't be on Brave New Worlds.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I wonder if they did that so they could get Chekhov onto the bridge in Brave New World.
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds.
Yes. I mean, I guess so, right? Because she was the Enterprise's security officer, right?
So I wonder if that gets Chekhov onto the bridge.
Chekhov didn't even show up in the first season of TOS.
Though, so it's got to be somebody else then. You're
there
absolutely right. Chekhov.
There was no security officer.
There was no security officer. I totally. Oh man, I blanked on that for a second.
I didn't. I just remembered it now. I was like, oh yeah, like wasn't he not in the first couple seasons?
Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah,
You're right,
he showed up later.
because that's the big plot hole in Wrath of Khan.
Right.
Because he's like, oh, Chekhov, I remember you, and then you go, wait, hold on, you weren't in Space Seed.
Shh, it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It was whatever. You just maybe he wasn't on the bridge yet. He wasn't a deck officer yet.
Yeah, he got promoted later.
There you go. So he's there. He's somewhere. He's just not a deck officer.
We'll see. Look, they'll probably put Chekhov on there because he's famous.
Right.
They should.
Yeah.
Okay, so like we got through that stuff.
Okay.
The fight scene with them is not that terrible.
So the Admiral. Let's wrap up the Admiral here.
They got to deal with this torpedo.
She pulls an Enterprise B moment here, where there's no way to keep this torpedo from blowing up the ship.
Oh wait, sorry. Before we got to go back a little bit first. Pike sends number one and the Admiral to deal with this, right?
Right.
Or he sends number one and someone, and the Admiral's like, "You go sit down over there.
I'll go." And you know that moment, right? You know that moment because we've seen that moment a couple times before in Star Trek.
Yeah, there was some like flashbacks and stuff also about this thing blowing up.
Well, yeah, but like you've seen the moment where the Admiral says,
the Admiral goes like,
I'm going to take this one.
Yeah.
And you know.
You already referenced the Enterprise B thing, so.
Yeah.
I like number one.
So
did she have a name? I don't think I ever heard her actual name.
So they do the debrief at the end of this episode, and they're doing all their names, and they're like Lieutenant Ash Tyler or Commander Ash Tyler, Captain whatever Pike, like all that. And she says number one, and so I think we have to discuss whether or not she's an android.
Oh wow. I guess we could have that discussion. I didn't think about that. It's possible, right? Why not?
All he ever says is number one.
He literally never calls her anything else.
She says number one. Everyone says number one. Maybe she's not number one as in the first officer. Maybe she's the number one of a series of androids.
Interesting. I know there was at some point discussion in the like early planning of the original series that there was going to be a woman first officer or something, and the studio nixed it because they are sexist and thought that it was why would the woman be in charge? Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I think the person slated at one point to play that woman first officer was Majel Barrett, the lady who became the voice of the computer.
Oh, really?
I think that's true. I want to say that that's true.
Okay.
And she later ends up on the show in other ways, of course, and then becomes the voice of the computer in the Next Generation and other things going forward. So I wonder if this is their attempt at like we're kind of alternate universing this thing here and getting the woman into the like executive officer position or whatever.
Yeah, it makes a lot of
Uh,
sense that after Pike goes down, if she is or isn't an android, she ends up off the ship afterwards anyway too. It seems like their relationship is that
mm-hmm.
relationship. So, then it's easy to say, well, Spock and Kirk take over, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to point out I like her character, and I thought it was good. And then you're right, the admiral pulls the admiral move of I can stay in here and close the door behind me.
Yeah,
You
and
go.
then, well, it's an interesting moment there because Pike says, no, 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 if I stay, nothing bad can happen because I know how I die.
Oh yeah, right. Like yeah, I love that. I love that idea. It's like, well, I know I'm okay if I just stay here. Time will stop.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine. As though like she's not going to convince him to leave.
There's a contradicting argument in this same episode when Burnham says it's all up to fate or whatever, and it's like, no, 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 no. You saw possible futures, right? Like, not everyone just dies because we tried to blow up the Discovery. Obviously, you saw a possible future.
That's kind of been the thing all along, though, right? Like
Right.
all of these glimpses for the future or whatever have been possible futures.
So the moment that he,
So then why do we believe Pike's future and not the others? Is it because we, the viewer, know that Pike's future actually comes true? Pike doesn't know that.
We just know that Pike is who he is, and therefore he's going to end up with his future, right? Whereas others may try to do different things, or etc.
I think it's weird that Pike goes along with it, being like, "Oh, well, okay,
Yeah.
I have to go along with this. Like, this is going to actually be my future." When everyone else around is like, "These are possible futures. We can change them."
Interesting.
Although, can they change them? Because Burnham saw that thing explode, and it definitely did explode.
Yeah, but she also saw everybody die on the bridge from Leland, and that didn't happen.
Oh, true. Right. Leland shows up and just kills everyone, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know.
I think what you end up having to believe here is either because it's Pike's crystal, he's sealed, and it's some sort of magic like that, or the more likely one that I believe or choose to believe here is that Pike is unable in the moment of that what ends up happening to him to stand aside, right? He's going to get to the moment in his future where that delta radiation leak is happening and know that is how he's going to die and think, but I'll still save my entire ship by doing this.
Yeah, I think that's very likely, right? It's the case where Pike is the kind of guy who is, if it's the choice between being crippled in a wheelchair for 100 years or saving his crew, he's obviously going to pick saving the crew, right? And so then the admiral telling him, no, you have to leave, he's the kind of guy who's going to do that because it saves the crew in the end, right?
Yep.
He's not willing to endanger everyone on a hunch that if he stays, it'll be fine.
Yeah. We get a pretty good explanation for, and then she obviously passes away when the torpedo explodes. So
I wrote that they must have a really good blast door right there.
And with glass in it.
Yeah.
Because he watches the entire time.
It's very sad. I will say the scenes of Burnham going back and like sending the signals and stuff were cool, I thought.
I liked them a lot.
Yeah. It was some of the coolest stuff. It's a shame it took us so long and so much incoherent stuff to get there.
I wrote notes. I said, I don't like how we got here, but these signals all coming together, thumbs up.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
And the idea where we've only seen 5 signals, Andrew. What is the deal?
Yep.
You learn that actually the 6th one Burnham is going to send to help the Discovery because reasons they can't fly or whatever, follow the signal.
Yeah. Follow me to the signal.
Follow me to the signal. Great. All
Good
right. I
good
like that.
explanation for Spock can't leave here, where the shuttle gets damaged in the huge battle. Again, didn't need the huge battle to get the shuttle damaged.
Yeah, you certainly could have. It could have been hit by a piece of space debris. It could have been shot one time by a Section 31 ship and then ignored because it was crippled. Lots of reasons they could have just, had it be shot, right?
Yeah.
But it was good, right? That he was like, it's not because I don't want to go with you. It's because I can't.
Yeah, I physically
Like, this
can't get out
shuttle
of
is
this
damaged.
shuttle.
It won't fly.
Yeah. Good moment there. And
Super good scene.
especially good scene when he says, I don't know, what's my barometer, what's my direction gonna be for how will I become a better person?
Yeah, right.
And she tells him to listen to Kirk.
Yep.
Like flat out, doesn't say Kirk, but she says, find the person that is the most opposite from you that you can ever be and listen.
Yeah, it's like the way she phrases it is really interesting, right? Because she's like, listen to the people that are, different than you, and so listen to the people who, support their ideas and all this stuff. And it's if you just listen to it, it sounds like a general platitude
Mm-hmm.
of like, oh, take the ideas from people who are different than you and listen to other people and like that kind of stuff. That's just a general thing that's probably good advice. But because she's speaking to Spock, we know
We know.
she's saying, listen to this insane captain who is like arrogant and brash and all this stuff that is the exact opposite of you.
Mm-hmm. So she's directly responsible for them becoming best friends in the future, right?
I mean, that's the headcanon now, right?
Yeah.
And then she says, like, they're like, well, we don't know what the 7th signal is now. And she says, I'm going to send it afterwards to let you know that we got there okay.
Right. That will be the 7th signal. Good end moment for their relationship. One that needed a good amount of talking about, because I think it's a good end cap. If Discovery is going to move permanently out of this timeline, because they really need it to, as evidenced by the end of this. Like we said, they put a bow on the end of this episode, like they
literally
full
take
bow.
every loose thread in the timeline, and they completely round it up.
Yeah, and so you have to say it's very, very likely that we will not see anyone from Discovery, except for maybe Georgiou, return to the current timeline.
Yes.
So that was they did a really good moment of wrapping those two apart forever, basically.
Yeah, I liked, given that she is a son or daughter of Sarek and Amanda, they needed to have a scene between them, right? And this was a pretty good one, I thought.
Yeah.
Like it worked very well. And then the battle is like they fly Discovery into the magic time wormhole or whatever.
There's a question first that I have for you. We didn't finish the Georgiou fight. First of all, I don't know how they're going to do a Georgiou Section 31 show like they've said, but maybe it's a prequel.
Doesn't she go into the future?
Yeah, she does. She absolutely goes to the future. So it must be like a prequel show or something.
Who knows? Back on the Terran universe.
Hey, did you hear them say the words "control is neutralized" after they magnetized Leland to death?
Oh yeah, huh?
Why do they still
stop fighting?
Why do they still need to go to the future?
Well, they can't keep the magnets on that floor on forever, Andrew.
Why do they still need to go to the future? If control is literally, they say the words "control is neutralized," and everybody goes, "Oh, thank God!" and all the ships stop fighting. And then, isn't that the reason?
Because as long as the data is there, they'll keep coming back from the future to get it, or
it's like a Terminator situation.
Yeah, it's the John Connor problem.
John Connor problem. Got it.
It's not, but like that's all I can think
I
of to
couldn't
justify this garbage.
I couldn't get past this moment where I was just like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why? And then Leland is magnetized to the floor of the Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to the future with them.
Mm-hmm. I was going to bring up that part if you didn't get to it. So yeah, so they just took him with them.
So this is what we're talking about. How they get so wrapped up in these like convoluted mess of ideas when they could simplify all this stuff and make it a lot easier
and make the scene have more tension, because the whole thing of like him being there is that again, you can't, the AI isn't one thing.
Yeah.
So like you can't get rid of it by stopping just Leland.
Right.
Stopping Leland is helpful though.
Right. The AI would still be in the ships.
Yes, exactly.
I don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get computers. And
no,
it really hurts.
Try to.
It really hurts my head to think about like what they're trying to do. Okay, whatever. They still go to the future.
Yep.
Then we get the cool debriefing scene where they put Ash Tyler in charge of Section 31. Number one says her name is Number One, which is a huge clue to me.
I hope it's true. That would be really cool.
That she's an android. And
I didn't think about that, but I thought it was cool.
And they basically debrief all these people. Everyone says the Discovery was destroyed.
Right. So everyone shook hands and agreed on stories before they went to the police station.
Ash makes them promise that control is gone forever.
Good, because again, this is a thing that is happening in the past, so we know that that's not a thing, so I guess it's good.
And then what is the bow number one here?
You can never speak of Discovery again under penalty of treason.
Ever. You cannot speak about anyone that ever served on the Discovery. You can never speak of it to anyone in Starfleet or in the universe ever again.
We're like deleting all the records. We're tying up all the loose
Discovery
ends.
has been expunged from existence.
Our show is being canceled. We're never talking about it.
Spock will never speak to even the most important people in his life about his sister.
About his sister.
He won't even talk to Sarek.
His parents about it.
He won't have a moment with Sarek.
His parents won't bring it up either.
Mm-hmm. Under penalty of treason.
What a show. It's so ridiculous, dude. I mean, you knew there were going to be problems like this, right? Like, this is setting a show in the past of an established universe is going to have problems, right? There's just no way around it. These were the problems, especially when these are established characters who we go to see a lot more of, right?
Yep.
This is their attempt to put a bow on it.
At least they tried.
They tried. Yeah, right. They could have just done nothing.
They could have done nothing, and we just assume that Kirk and Spock talk about Burnham when we don't see them.
Off camera, right? It's always off camera. Just luckily.
Yeah.
As soon as that door opens, all of a sudden they change the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, man. I don't know what to do. You just think, whatever. They tried, right? This is a better attempt at this than a lot of their other attempts in the rest of the show. So, okay, I guess.
It only leaves the idea that we could get Jason Isaacs back in my mind as like sad that we can't, because now they're in the future.
I mean, they dropped Jason Isaacs into a sun in the Terran universe, dude. He's gone.
I know, but what about the other one?
The real one was killed by the Terran one, right? Wasn't that the whole thing?
Yeah. They don't say that.
They don't say that. Anyway, he's not coming back, Andrew. I know you liked Lorca. He's gone.
Lorca, man, what a good captain.
Just like this ship and maybe this show, he's gone.
Yeah. Well, not, because we know there's a season 3 coming, but
we do know.
Yeah.
Also, I liked the very final scene of like Spock over narrating as like, you get the shot
Oh
and
yeah, that was what
he,
we needed to talk about last, right? Was they're on the Enterprise.
and he's like, it's been 100 days or whatever, and it's hard to wait or whatever, waiting for the signal from Burnham, right?
Yeah.
But he
He
believes.
believes that even if the signal doesn't come, that she made it. He chooses to believe that. He knows it's not logical, but if the signal
Right.
doesn't come, he still knows that she's out there in the future. And then it's base this is basically the intro to Strange New Worlds, right? They're
It
all
feels like it, right?
he shaves, he cuts his hair like Spock, ends up on the bridge with a
He
uniform
put he
on.
he puts on the blue uniform, right?
Uh-huh. And they're on the bridge and we get the idea, hey, this was the intro for Strange New Worlds, what you just watched these last 2 seasons.
And so, so I wonder, right? So and that's the end of the end of the season,
Well,
right?
the end of the show is the seventh signal shows up in the beta
Right, right.
quadrant, and Pike says, "Hit it."
It's the signal, but it's like too far for them to get to, right?
Right,
Because the beta quadrant's really far away,
right.
and Spock's like, they're both trying not to smile at each other because they're forbidden from ever speaking of it again. Remember?
Yeah, so they can't go check out the signal. They have to
And
just,
Spock's like, I will look at the analysis.
yeah. I don't worry about it. I'll read it or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
let's go to this other moon.
I'll science it. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's go to the moon. Cool.
yeah.
I wonder now. I'm thinking back about the time when the first season of Discovery came out and the second season were new, right? Because it's been a few years since then, right? 2 or 3 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I remember again just from like taking the temperature and stuff of people online and reading stuff. I feel like people were pretty down on Discovery season 1 when it until the end when things got crazy, right?
I absolutely agree with you. I think that Discovery was generally unpopular season 1. In fact, the Orville got better reviews.
And I think season 2 had a similar arc where it started and people kind of didn't like it. And then maybe by the end, it kind of was okay. But if you look at what happened at the end of season 1, I think they went into season 2 thinking there was never going to be Discovery season 3.
I
And their
think
plan was just to write off Discovery and do Strange New Worlds. Like that was the plan, I think. Like we're going to do the Pike and Spock and number 1 show. We're going to write Discovery off into the future because it's not popular.
To me, there's a very clear delineation here that sometime in the middle of season 2, CBS All Access looked at their numbers and said, people are only watching Star Trek.
Maybe, yeah.
We need all of it on. And I don't know when season 3 got announced or that they were gonna do it.
I feel like I didn't hear about them doing a season 3 of Discovery until like last year. But also I can't claim to have been like watching super close, so it could be wrong. But that means they like took a good couple years off,
I don't think they took a year. They didn't take a year off, did they?
Did they? Am I that close to
Season 2
off?
ended. Oh boy, now we're gonna have to look up stuff.
I thought it was 2018.
When did season 2 of Discovery end? This Hollywood Reporter article is from, what's the date? 2019, April. April 2019.
Okay. I guess I thought it was farther back than that.
So that's a year and a half break, but you've got the pandemic in there slowing things down.
Right. Yeah, that obviously being a situation. Okay. Yeah, no, you're right. Star Trek Discovery season 2 started airing in January 2019. So, them doing a season 3 in the end of 2020, assuming they still are able to do that because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
uh, is not unreasonable.
I think a lot of Discovery suffers from trying to be a premium show. It's an expensive show to have done.
I mean, certainly there's a ton of sets, there's a ton of special effects, and there's like a pretty sizable amount of cast, right?
Yeah. There's a ton of people. There's a ton of
Yeah.
sets. There's a ton of everything. I can't.
And I mean, they have to keep building new ones, right? Like they have to build the set for the Klingon ship. They have to make a set for the weird Section 31 ship, although like maybe we can kind of reuse the one we built for Leland or whatever.
Yeah.
The they're building sets for the crazy engine thing. They're building weird light up props for time crystals. They have to build a suit for Burnham. They have to build a shuttle set for Spock. They have to, all this stuff is like, it's expensive, dude. It can't be cheap.
No, and they've done it for 14 episodes, 2 seasons in a row. I imagine that some of the direction for season 3 is to cut cost for sure.
And I think, maybe I'm wrong about this, but what if you do that by not not constantly in, you do that by setting it in the like the way that Enterprise and DS9 and TNG and the original series all did it, by having one ship and doing a monster of the week kind of thing, right?
I was just about to ask, do you think they're headed that direction? Because
I want them to, because that's good.
They have seemed to struggle with this for 2 seasons. We've talked about this. They've struggled with this for 2 seasons. What show do we want to be? And they kept falling onto being narratively driven. But every time they became narratively driven, they smashed everything they needed to fit into a couple episodes instead of spreading it out like you would normally do on a show where you need to be at A at the beginning and at B at the end. And it seemed like they knew
at this point
A and they did 3 episodes of A, they knew B, they did 3 episodes of B, and the other stuff kind of meanders in the middle.
Yep. At this point I just assume they're going to continue that, because they like it feels like something they just can't not do, right?
Yeah.
Like they spend 80% of their budget on the 6 episodes at the beginning and the end, and then they're like, well, you guys got 14, and they're like, oh shoot, we have 8 more. Guys, what can we do on the cheap? Like,
yeah, what if we wandered around the desert for a few days?
Yeah, how about we do, geez, man, it's like that last episode or one of the end episodes of Picard where you're just like, everyone's split up wandering around the desert.
That's true.
I don't know, obviously, what they're going to do. I've read nothing about season 3. I'm not going to read anything about it.
I don't think that we're served by reading about it. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I don't know. I wish they would, but I can't have any faith that they will. Nothing that they've done up to now has led me to believe they are like figuring it out. I will say I ended up liking season 2 better than the beginning of season 1, but not better than the end of season 1.
I think my enjoyment in the end of season 2 is not as high as my enjoyment in the end of season 1, but I don't know if that's because of the potential of Georgiou, which I think she sold every second that she was on the screen, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And made me
Emperor, quote unquote, Emperor Georgiou coming back was so good. That whole arc was amazing.
I don't think this show would be good without Emperor Georgiou coming back into it and alleviating a lot of the tension, making a lot of the plot points better, because she's got the character ability to just step in and be like, oh, tell us 4. Yeah, we blew that place up in my universe.
She also has the, like, I don't know, almost outside perspective from Starfleet, right? She can act as the alien race that's like, I know the solution to this. Let's kill these guys.
Yeah, but she has that ability to step into a moment in Star Trek and change it because she's an outsider, right?
Yeah.
I really want a show of her. I really do, because that was the potential at the end of season 1.
I think the thing, Do you want a show where she's the main character? Do you actually want that?
Maybe not. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe her being in the future with Burnham, she has to be in every episode until something changes, right?
right. This is what I'm thinking, right? Like, I want the Section 31 show with Michelle Yeoh in it. Do I want her to be the main character in that show? Or is like the main character going to be Ash, the head of Section 31, and she's the like person who can come into the scene and say like, let's kill everyone.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he's like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
Good questions. All good questions. I end interested in season 3. I end
yeah.
liking I end liking having had Spock on the show. It was something I was worried about.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the way, and actually more of the scenes with Spock worked than didn't, right?
Absolutely.
Even though he's like barely in the first 5 episodes or whatever. I think more often than not, when Spock is part of the episode, it's better than when he's not.
Yeah.
So I think like I guess at that point where you're like the majority of the episodes this character in end up being good, that's like a pretty good measure of his effect on the show, right? So
You
whereas there are
definitely
some characters who I could say they made the show worse by being there. So
and it sucks because a lot of them are Discovery crew and
I
and it ends
know.
up being the thing where Strange New Worlds crew got a real boost in my mind of being I'm excited for that show.
Yeah,
But they've all left to go
absolutely.
to that show. They're not on Discovery anymore.
And it's a bummer too because like there's several characters on the Discovery crew that I still like that are still there,
Absolutely.
right? I still like Tilly even though she's annoying. I still like Burnham. I still like Saru even in a lot of cases. I I, I still think they shouldn't have brought back Hugh.
Yeah.
Because I like Stamets, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe if, now that all the other people are gone, they'll actually give them a chance. I'm not hopeful for that, but you never know.
Right.
I like Stamets as a character. I don't know that I know or think much about Hugh's character at all because I sort of think he shouldn't be there.
He was dead for a
But
while. Like why
he was
yeah.
dead.
What should I worry about him?
And now that he's back, like maybe they'll give him a chance to have actual character. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. I originally liked Stamets a lot and Hugh not as much. Maybe I will get the chance to like both those characters more going forward. We'll see. But I think that you're right. There are like a lot of the other bridge crew and stuff that are on there, right? Who are like take them or leave them, like
They
because again, they did a terrible job of telling you who anyone on the Discovery was.
yeah. And that's a crime against them.
Absolutely, it is.
The writing, like there's a chance for Uwu to be a character. There's a chance. I mean, Pike gives a
the
speech
other
to
lady,
all
I
of
don't
them.
remember her name.
Hey, woman that is the person that was the android character but stepped in for the android character.
Right.
You did a good job stepping in for the android character. I can't remember her. See, I don't
Me
know
either, dude.
any of their names.
I don't know the name of the lady with the like eyepiece thing.
I don't. Why? Why is it that?
Why don't
like,
I know? She has more speaking lines, or at least almost as many speaking lines as Owu does, and I can remember her name, but I can't remember the other ones.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
It's not good, right? Because it's just
it's funny because you end up knowing more of the Enterprise crew than the Discovery crew by the end of this. I know number one. Well, we don't know her name, but they call her number one. You know their security officer because she becomes the Enterprise's or the Discovery security officer. Although wait, she goes to the future, right?
she's in the future now.
Okay, never mind. All right, I take it back. But like it's crazy that they spend more time developing those characters and telling you their name and stuff than they do about the ones on the actual Discovery who we've been with for 2 seasons.
Yeah, I can still not tell you the tactical officer's name on the bridge.
No, me either. Like Lorca would just point at people and say like, "Do this." He wouldn't use a name.
Yeah.
Like Pike was better about it, but he would say like, Lieutenant so and so or whatever,
Yeah. I mean, to memorize their names, though, you'd have to go back and watch his little round table at the beginning of season 2 where he named everybody.
And that's it, right?
And
And they
that's
never used their full
I
names ever
thought that
again.
was going to be the thing where we were like, okay, cool. The bridge crew's going to have time on screen. And it's like they still have time when they're on the bridge, but really Tilly's more important than the entire bridge crew.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
And like, fine, if you want to make the show that way, you can have an ensign be the important one or whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Lower
Not
decks.
a problem, right? Yeah. They made that show. It's the Lower Decks. Maybe we'll talk about that one day, not today.
Oh, there's did you watch the most recent episode?
No, I'm
There's
behind a couple, so.
there's a Captain Pike chair reference.
Great.
Yep.
Great. Great. I will tell you, look, man, I have enjoyed some of the Lower Decks that I've watched. I have not hated any of them.
Right. Okay.
I don't
We'll talk
love
about
all
it
of
next
them.
time.
But we'll talk about it sometime. Yeah.
We have that to talk about and the Picard book to talk about next time. But I
Cool.
think 2 hours on 3 episodes of Discovery is probably about as much.
These were the most bonkers 3 episodes we've ever seen.
I have never seen Star Trek this crazy and frenetic.
And again, like, you know, we kind of harped on it the whole time, but it doesn't help. Like, it's not, I don't think it helps them to be like this.
It's weird because what you really come for is everyone in the world knows TNG, and the pace of TNG is not this. And it's not the same show. I don't want people to think it is the same show. But especially that space battle does not, it's not serving the spirit of the show, of the shows in large.
I think the thing I come to these shows for is drama, not action.
Right.
And they have somehow twisted that around, and they're like, we need to show you a Marvel movie every week instead of showing you like some dramatic scenes.
So there's an article going
which is
around.
The opposite of what I want. Right?
There's an article going around of, it's called, I think it's called The Problem with Prestige TV or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's called Americans and the Problem with Prestige Television. And essentially comes down to, and there was an article, it's related to the series Cobra Kai that just came out on Netflix because it was a YouTube show.
Mm-hmm.
And a show that probably doesn't need to be the quality of Prestige television. And I would argue is not the quality of Prestige television, but looks almost like it. The article then goes on to explain, like, everyone believes they have to make, like you just said, a Marvel movie every week for people to come watch it. And so you have every single place trying to make these television shows that are amped to 11 on all things at all times with the most beautiful camera
Everything
work
is
and the most
they have these shots where they're spinning around the room in this crazy way. They have these cool effects that are just like unbelievable to see. They have like this cast that's so diverse and huge, and they have every scene has everything, and it's exploding all the time, and people are fighting, but also there's tension and drama and all this stuff. And like, I get the problem, right? Like, not every show has to be Game of Thrones. Not every show has to be like the must-watch show.
Well, and it's going to end up being bad for the business in the long run.
It should be, because like these, obviously these shows are fantastically expensive to make. They have to be in order to have all these like ends, all these very people can shoot movies on the cheap, right? Like that's a thing that gets done sometimes.
Yeah.
But you can tell when they shoot a movie on the cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
Though, yes and no. I would say people that are listening to this should try out the Amazon series Tales from the Loop.
Okay.
That is exactly what we're talking about here. It looks great. It looks fantastic because it takes a lot of its art reference from a comic book, and a comic book that was hand illustrated, like illustrated to be art, not to be comics.
Okay.
It looks good. It looks great. There is CGI in it. But at most points in time, the show is focused on the episode that it's on, the story that it's telling in that episode, which is somewhat tangentially related to the larger universe in this one season of shows, right? It builds a few pieces at a time and culminates in something that is not what we've seen here, which is the biggest problem. Nothing about that show is the end of the universe. It's only the end of the universe to the 4 characters that you care about.
Which like is a acceptable and good goal in a show, right? Like,
but now we've watched 3
lives ending is a big problem for the characters.
We've talked about 3 seasons of Star Trek, Picard and Discovery for 2 seasons. And every single time we've mounted this assault on the fate of the universe every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be like that. And remember, even in TNG, and which we love, frequently the episodes, even the big final ending episodes, had nothing to do with the fate of the universe.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, if we mess this up, the Romulans and the Klingons are going to go to war.
Yep.
It's not even us.
Yeah.
It's them.
We didn't have to worry about time crystals and all this stuff.
And there are very famous episodes of those shows where they do have to worry about time stuff. And there are famous episodes where the Borg invade, right?
Yeah.
Very famous episodes.
Because they stand out.
And in fact, the majority are the opposite of that. And that's good.
It makes
otherwise the big ones don't stand out, right?
Right.
You remember that episode where he becomes Locutus because it was the biggest thing to happen on that show in 4 seasons.
Yeah, it became the cover of tons of magazines because it was the cliffhanger, right? Of like, oh my God, this show, which normally is this cool, episodic, weekly, exploration of the human character, has turned on its head, and the main character has become the direst evil in the universe.
Yeah, oh my gosh, how are they going to solve this?
Can they solve it? And they solve it in 1 episode.
And then it's back to the thing.
But it's okay because you use that time to then build over this course of 7 years. This identity of Picard is very affected by his time as the Borg, and that's cool. And I understand they're not making that show. That's fine. But we've got to stop with the end of the universe.
The thing can be a stake for the character. It doesn't need to be the stakes that literally the universe ends, right? Yeah. The stakes can be, I'm trying to think of stuff from this season, so we're not actually spoiling anything. But the stakes can be that Burnham's mom is going to die.
The stakes can be just getting Burnham's mom back and then realizing
that can be the whole show. That's enough.
Yeah, realizing we can't get her back, and then I'm going to go to the future, and
Yeah, and of course it changes so many other things, but that's the stakes like that can be the thing.
I didn't even mind actually the stakes. The stakes of this season I didn't mind as much as Picard. The stakes of this season almost make sense. And in the ending of having this control thing, if I take the season as a whole, I like it in terms of its goals. And while I would change a lot of ways that they did things and got places and wouldn't have time crystals and wouldn't have the gigantic epic space battle at the end, the idea that at some point in the past, Section 31 managed some sort of computer to try and make things better in the Federation, and it didn't go well, and it went rampant, and they had to, fix it.
Yeah.
Is a good idea.
And then, the whole, that arc is a good arc. You could make a season out of that, right?
Yeah.
You could make an arc out of Burnham's mom is actually coming back from the future and leading them to something, and there's a whole mystery there, and that's cool. 7 signals and all this stuff. That's cool. You could make an arc out of that. They don't both need to be the same arc. it's like they're trying to do too much in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
That's how it feels. But
Okay, well, season 3 starts soon.
yeah, it does. And Lower Decks is ongoing. And I don't know when Strange New Worlds is supposed to start, but
They
not
haven't started filming
soon,
yet.
right? Okay, yeah, so that's a next year or later thing.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if Discovery's only on until Strange New Worlds.
You think that they run Discovery season 3 and then call it?
It's possible.
I guess maybe it depends on how popular Strange New Worlds ends up being, right?
Or how popular season 3 of Discovery is here could be a big thing. I don't know that the
Certainly.
time jump is going to keep a lot of people around.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will have to find out, right? Because now I don't remember what year they said they were going to, but I thought my memory of it was like it's past the end of like the Dominion War and all that stuff.
Right. One of the funny things is Strange New Worlds is now the longest pilot to series pickup ever.
Oh, like if this was the pilot for Strange New
No,
World?
because the pilot would be the cage.
Oh. That is funny.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want to end on a negative note. There's a lot to like in season 2 of Discovery.
Yeah.
But man, unlike a lot of other Star Trek, you really have to flip off your brain. So it's definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah. I think that's my end on it is like I both liked parts of it and didn't like other parts. And you gotta know where you come down on that schedule, on that I think the barometer for season 2 is how much did you like season 1. If you liked season 1 quite a bit, then yeah, go ahead and watch season 2. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you had real serious problems with season 1 and like kind of dragged yourself all the way through to the end, maybe
it's more of the same
on this show. Maybe you're good on this show.
All right. If you have comments, you didn't like it as much as us, you liked it way more, and we missed some stuff, where would that be?
Send those to podcast@weweregamers.com, and you could tell us that you're talking about a Subspace Transmission or Star Trek or something at the top there so that we know.
Yeah.
And please, we would love to hear if there's like details and stuff that we missed, because it's very, very likely.
Or if you're watching Lower Decks, send us the thing. We'll talk about it next time.
I want to know. We will talk about Lower Decks. We are watching it. So yeah. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify and Stitcher and Apple and Google Podcasts.
Ooh, and I hope soon Amazon, which has now launched podcasts in their music app. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, man. Amazon, get us in there.
Yeah.
Also, hey, we're on YouTube. Search out that YouTube. Search for We Were Gamers. Hit subscribe. Get that little bell to get notified when our videos go up.
You can even subscribe to the sub pods only.
Yeah, you can look at the playlists and just be like, oh, did a new Subspace Transmission come out? Heck yeah, I can listen to that.
There you go. Until then, hit it. The what?
That's what they're calling the thing that the tacos are doing in Blaseball.
They're calling the tacos like killing of all their players the sacrifice.
Yes.
What if this season, the idols have something different happen to them and we don't know it, but the tacos somehow found out? Or is it always going to be this way? All the idols are always getting shelled.
Who knows, dude? I think it will be hilarious if all the tacos pitchers end up shelled.
I wonder if they just auto lose all their games.
I mean, I would think that that's what would happen, right? You can't pitch if you're in a peanut.
Right. I'm glad I started up again this season. I was down on having lost all that money, but they made it come back fast enough that you really don't have to do much to earn that much money.
Yeah, that's the real thing, like I'm going here and I'm placing like bets on every team that's more than 50%.
Yeah, basically you just max bet every team that's
Mm-hmm.
55%, which is funny because if you see a team that's like 70% usually in real
Yep.
betting, you would think the opportunity cost of betting,
Yeah, it's too much you don't win enough
you
on
don't
a
win enough to
70%
bet on a
favorite.
high percentage of victory.
Right.
But when you can bet a game every hour, it becomes just a set of numbers, right?
Yeah, it's
And
like how
if
much attention are you paying really? It's like I log on here like twice a day. I'm not, you know.
sure, but at the same time, if you're spending twice a day betting 20 games a day, 5 days a week, that's 100 games.
Oh yeah, you can rack up the coins, man.
Yeah, but the percentages then matter, right? But in real life,
Oh
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have enough money to bet every football game.
Right. And even if you did, you wouldn't want to because, like some of the games it doesn't make any sense to bet on ones where it's like, oh, the Patriots are playing the like the Jets. Who's gonna win that game? Gee, I wonder.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, the Jets are 20% favorites. It's like, well, look,
I
man.
can't bet them, even though I should bet them. And then in real life, the betting precludes you from taking the Patriots, I guess, in that scenario because you would in theory not have enough gain.
Right.
Oh man.